Hi, welcome to Cloud Computing course. In today's session, we'll be discussing about one of the important AWS offering called EC2. So let us see that what is EC2. So we'll go back to our big picture of AWS offering, where all the services in AWS are categorized into 5 different groups called compute, database, storage, deployment and management, application services. Now, out of these services, our session today is going to cover about one of the very important service called EC2. Now, what is EC2 exactly? EC2, the name EC2 starts with the name called Elastic Cloud Compute. So, since it is elastic, why it is elastic, I will explain. It is in cloud and it is used for providing a computing resources. So, that is why it is called compute. Now, Elastic Cloud Compute is called ECC, and in the short form they call it EC square or EC2. So, basically EC2 becomes the Elastic Cloud Computing. What it does is that it basically in the cloud, Amazon lets you create the servers or hardware boxes as per your requirement. So, basically if I need suddenly 5 computers for something processing, I can go to Elastic Cloud Computing and I can basically create 5 servers there and use them, and after 5 days or 10 days if I don't need them, I can just shut down all of them and Amazon will not ask me any money after 5 days. So, that is the good part of EC2. You can provision or create as many servers and boxes. Basically EC2 is all about Elastic Cloud Computing, that is a computing resources where you get the complete computer with a RAM, with a hard disk, with a processor, with a network IO, everything. So, if you want all the computers or servers for a short term or long term, EC2 is the service to get that server. So, that is what we are going to discuss now. Now, what are the various highlights about Elastic EC2? EC2 is very important in fact. So, EC2 is one of the most widely used service in Amazon AWS. First, it is elastic. What does it mean by elastic? Elastic means today I want 1 computer, okay? Tomorrow I want 100. And then again I want just 5 after 10 days. How do I go from here to here, here to here without investing so much money in buying all of this computer? So, the only way I can avoid this is use the EC2 web service or EC2 service of AWS to get 1 computer or 100 computer and use it as much as you want. So, that is what we call very elastic in nature. Depending on your requirement, you can ask for more server, you can release the servers, and all of that does not take months or years or days or week. It can, and even hour, it can be done in just few minutes. Within a minute, all your 100 servers are ready for you to use. Within a minute, you can reduce your usage from 100 servers to 2 servers within just fraction of few seconds or a minute. So, that is the elasticity we are talking about. Now, next one is completely controlled. What does it completely controlled means? Completely controlled means that you get a full access to these servers. These servers you can log in through your root user ID password. You will have you can create your additional user who can access the system. You can install any software what you want. You can put the file, you can remove your own file from there, you can do whatever you want as a normal root user. So, you have a full control on those servers. Next one is flexible in capacity or size. Next one is flexible in capacity, size or applications. What it means is that all these servers which you are going to get it from EC2 service can be of any size. You want a 1 CPU box, you can get it. You want a 2 CPU box, you can get it. You want a 4 CPU box, it is available. Same about the RAM, how much RAM you want, what kind of a CPU you want, what kind of applications you install, all of these are possible. So that's why it is called very flexible. You can get the server the way you want it. Okay. Secure, it is very secured, it is behind the firewalls, and it uses to provide the access. You can put SSH mechanism with a public private key encryption mechanism. It supports public private key encryption. You can control what are the various ports you want to open on the server. So SSH level, port level security, all of that security on those servers are available for you to use it and do it. Okay. Very easy to start, just log in, and without any upfront fee you can easy to start, log in and create. We'll see this, we'll see through an example here. So not a problem, it is very easy to start. Inexpensive. Inexpensive means that it is very cheap. You can spin up a basic server for about $250 per day. So think about that. Just in $250 per day, you get a server. It is so cheap. Okay? And here you can install whatever you want. Install whatever you want. You can install your database, you can install your application, it is all up to you. You can do this remote shutdown and startup. You can do it through console, you can shut down the server or start the server, or you can do it programmatically through API. So this is also possible. You can write a program which says that if the load on the server is like this and this, please increase or decrease this, please shut down the server. So all of those things, remote shutdown and start on, all of these servers are very much possible. These comes in a persistent and non-persistent way. If you are going to use, we'll talk about this little later, but let us understand that persistent and non-persistent means that if you shut down the server, all the data is lost. If you shut down the server in non-persistent way, the data is not lost and you can restart the server again. So depending on what configuration you want, you can do that as well. The type of operating system which comes with the server is of different flavor. You can have a Linux, you can have a Windows. Solaris used to be there, but now they have stopped Solaris, especially after Oracle acquiring Sun Microsystem. But Linux and Windows are still very much there. Various flavors of Linux, various flavors of Windows are supported there. So these are the type of servers and highlights of EC2. Now we will see that in terms of server types, there are various categories of server in terms of size and capacity. What are those size and capacity available for us? So generally there are three types of instances: small, large and extra large, and you can always look for something which is closer to you. So a small server, if you want, basically this is a specification of server types. Okay. So server types, or what you call is spec. These are the spec of servers. Server spec. Now if you want a small instance, then the best one is that get one server which is of 1.7 gigahertz x86 processor, and it is equivalent to 2007 release of Xeon processor. Okay. You will get 1.75 GB of RAM, 160 GB of hard disk, 250 MB of network bandwidth per second. This is the speed, and this much per hour per machine for plus bandwidth. So this is the price. We'll talk about the price little later, but this is the capacity of your computer if it is a small instance. What happens if I want a bit larger instance? What kind of a capacity you will get? First is that you will get 4 EC2. 4 EC2 means, see here is the 4 EC2. So in Amazon EC2, the compute unit is called single EC2. So 1 EC2, 2 EC2, 3 EC2, it is like a 1 CPU, 2 CPU, 3 CPU, 4 CPU boxes. So in the EC2 convention, we call it as EC2. 1 EC2, 2 EC2, 3 EC2, 4 EC2. Now 4 EC2 compute unit is a large instance, which this server will have 2 virtual cores with 2 EC2 compute units each. It will have a huge amount of storage, 850 GB memory, 7.5 GB RAM, 64-bit platform, and only 40 cents per hour. This is for large instances. If you want to buy this kind of a server, use this kind of a server, it is this. And remember, you never buy anything here. It is all, although we use the word sometime buy, but effectively what you are doing is that you are doing a rent. Okay? In Amazon, you don't really buy in the real sense, you rent and use it. So we don't do this buy, we do the rent. Okay? We don't do really buy, we do the rent. Now let us see about the large instance, extra large instance. I want a very big server. That is also possible in Amazon. Amazon provides you whatever configuration you want. In this large instance, what you will get is that 15 GB of RAM, 8 EC2, that is basically 4 virtual cores with 2 EC2 compute units each, 1.7 GB of hard disk, 1.7 terabytes of hard disk, 1690 GB of hard disk, that is approximately 1.7 terabytes of hard disk, 64-bit platform. So pretty much you get a very, very powerful system as well, starting with a very simple platform. Like here, you can get just a small instance to a very large instance. Whatever kind of a server you need, EC2 is quite capable to give you that kind of a server, and you can use it and then you can stop using it when you don't need it. So it is all up to you what kind of a server you want to use. Now in Amazon world, there is a concept called AMI, the naming convention, AMI and instance. What is instance? What is AMI? AMI is like a template, Amazon machine imaged. And what is an instance? Instance is like creating an actual machine from that AMI. So now there are two types of AMI, EBS backed AMI and EC2 instance store backed AMI. Now this is little bit might get confusing. What is this one? So it is like a instance store backed AMI and it is EBS backed AMI. Okay, so let us see this how it works. One is called EBS backed, other is called instance backed. EBS backed is a like of external hard disk which can be used by AMI. AMI is like a template of complete server with complete details of what kind of a hardware, software, RAM, disk, network, everything will be there. So it is like an image of a computer. Now using that image of a computer, you can create your real instances. And that image itself can be of two types. One type of image will be looking for where the main boot partition is local to the computer. The other case is that where the boot partition itself is on a attached external hard disk. Now if the boot partition is on the local system itself, that is called instance store backed AMI. But if it is a external, EBS is external hard disk. So if that is external, then it is a EBS backed AMI. Now there are few differences between EBS backed AMI and instance store backed AMI. Now we will see that there are few differences between EBS backed AMI and instance EC2 instance backed AMI. First difference is in the size limit for the root device, where the root device will stay, your bootable root device, that is where the size is. So in EBS backed, the root device size can be 1 terabyte. In the case of EC2 instance based, it can be 10 GB maximum. This is EBS backed is very much suitable for both Windows and Linux, because EBS is external hard disk which can be mounted, unmounted, but EC2 instance is only suitable for Windows Server. The most important part about EBS is that it can be stopped and restarted, but in EC2 instance store backed cannot be stored, cannot be stopped. See, it cannot be stopped. Okay, only terminated. It can be only terminated. What it means is that once it starts running, while it is running, it will have all the data, but the moment you stop, all the data is gone. Okay. Additional block device attachment, EBS backed anytime. So what it means is that if you want to, if your instance has been created from an AMI which is EBS backed, then you can attach external more hard disk anytime later. But if it is a EC2 backed, then only during the launch you can attach the external hard disk. See, this is an additional block device. This is external. It is like an external hard disk. I want to attach another external hard disk, one more external hard disk or something like that. If the AMI is EBS backed, you can put it anytime. If it is EC2 instance backed, only during the launch. Data storage is persistent. If you shut down and restore, your data is not lost. If it is an instance store based, data is gone because your instance itself is gone. EBS backed will boot much faster. It boots little slower. Now let us try to understand a little bit more about custom AMI instance versus EBS. So in the previous session, we tried to understand this in a tabular way, that what is EBS backed and instance store backed AMI looks like. Let us try to understand little bit pictorially. So what is the EBS volume? EBS volumes are like external block storage device. So it is an external hard disk kind of a thing. So it is quite possible that you can have your block devices dev disk either mapped to your instance store, that is local. So either you can map a device, mapping can come to the local disk like this. These are the local disk mapping, right? Or it can go to the remote one, external hard disk, external storage device. So if your computer is created using a root device volume which is external to the instance store, then that is called EBS based AMI. But if your computer is using a root device which is stored in the local instance, then it is called instance store based AMI. So this use, then it is a EBS based device AMI, or if it is local, then it is a instance store based AMI. Few things to be careful about when you are using the EC2. First category which we should be careful about is the non-persistent storage. So what happens is that when people go and create a EC2 instance, by mistake they take the default one, which is the instance store based EC2 AMI, and in that one they put something, and then when they shut down, the server is gone. Now they cannot get the same server again. So, and then they have a problem. So what you should do is that you should be careful about that. Are you looking for a persistent server or non-persistent server? If you are looking for a persistent kind of a server, then use a EBS backed devices, or use S3 server, S3 service. S3 is another service by AWS for storing the data. Or you can use your own application web service to pull the data at the runtime from your non-persistent instance of AMI and take care from there. So that is the first thing you should be careful about, and that is non-persistent behavior when you are working on EC2. Second thing is that the IP address is generally given is random. Now when you get the random IP address, what you could do is that use a public DNS name and have a offsite DNS or load balancing, or you can use also a CNAME. So CNAME means that you can point your domain name to a different domain name, and that is called CNAME. To the domain name of the public domain name of AWS. So I can have a public domain name of DNS, public DNS name of my computer in Amazon cloud, but that name will look very cryptic and long and like Amazon. So I can use the CNAME concept of DNS to point my nice brand name, company name, domain name, and point it to the DNS of the AWS. And that is the way a lot of companies manages it. In privacy, there might be some compliance issue. It is not that critical issue, but you might be interested to just take care of that. Next one, what we are going to see is that how is the pricing structure of a server if I want to use it in EC2 cloud. Now the pricing structure might look little complicated in the beginning, and they have been structured in two different ways: on demand instance, reserved instance, and spot instance. We'll just take about this one by one. First is that on demand instance means whenever you need, you can go and take one. So that is as per the demand, right? So this is as per the demand you need it. So here no upfront payment, no long-term commitment, and that is where is the important thing, because let me just show you this one. Here there is no long-term commitment. You can use it for 1 day, 2 day, or whatever. Pay for compute capacity by the hourly rate. The only problem in this one is that if it is on demand, it is quite possible that another instance may not be available in the same zone or operating system when you need it later time. Although this is not seriously a problem, most of the time you get it, but it is quite possible that sometime you do not get it. So that might be a small issue here, not a big issue, but very minor issue. Now to solve this problem, there is another concept called reserved instance. It is a low one-time upfront payment. It is a small payment you have to pay. So here there is low one-time upfront payment and a small commitment of 1 to 3 years. So that is where it is important. Here it was a no long-term commitment. Here there is a 1 to 3 year commitment. Okay. Here there is a no upfront payment. Here there is a low one-time upfront payment. Okay, so see the difference. Rest of the things are here new instance not guaranteed. You see new instance not guaranteed. Guaranteed new instance in same zone or operating system. Okay, so this is the difference between these and that. So if you suspect or has a high probability that you are going to need lot of servers and everything, and especially for load balancing and all those purpose or disaster recovery, and it is very important for you that they are in the same zone or something, then in that case you might want to go with a reserved instance, because reserved instance is very good if you are speculating that down the line I might need a large number of servers for disaster recovery, for load balancing, failover mechanism or for other purposes in the same zone itself. This is very good and applicable for steady state or predictable usage and disaster recovery. Now the last one which we are going to cover is called spot instance. So let us see that how spot instance work. Spot instance, the most important thing which is there is called bidding mechanism. What it means is that you can say that I need a instance, but I will only buy it if it is available for 5 cents per hour. Now lot of other people will be bidding in the same way, and there is a restricted amount of spot instances. Depending on who bids the best, he will get the spot instance when it is available. It is only used for non-critical work, very simple, not very useful, not very important, and not very non-critical, very trivial kind of a work which you can afford not to do it for a couple of days. Even if it delayed, there is no problem. For that kind of a work, a spot instance is a very good mechanism. And if you know that applications which you are running on a spot instance can start and end at 18 time and it will not create any problem, then spot instance is a very good mechanism to get a cheap one. One of the most important difference which people generally confuse is that all the three mechanism, on demand, reserve and spot, have a difference in terms of your agreement and commitment. See, where is the difference? Difference is in the terms of the payment, in terms of the commitment, right? These three, all the three have the only difference in terms of hourly rate, bidding mechanism and payment and commitment. That in terms of the functionality or the technical specification of the servers, all are exactly same. So all functionalities are exactly same. Only billing difference. So the difference is only comes in the billing, rest of the things are exactly same. Only billing difference. There is no other difference. So on demand instance, reserve instance and spot instance, both will have exactly same. Now let us look into the prices on demand instance. How is the cost and all? This is all available on the internet, but here I am just giving you. So you have to check for which region you want on demand instance. What is the prices? So these are the various pricing. It starts with the 80 cents, 8 cents per hour. Sorry, not 80 cents, 8 cents per hour, and it can go as high as up to, let me see, the highest one you will get is that $3 per hour. So it starts with the 88 cents and it goes to $3, 8 cents to $3. It is all up to you what kind of a server you want. You want a small, medium, large, extra large, micro, with a high memory. See, if you want a server with high memory, you can have high CPU. You want a cluster compute, you can get that. Cluster GPU instance, you can get that. Standard on demand, you can get that. So depending on what kind of a server you are looking for, the pricing per hour basis for Linux and Windows is there. Now this one is little high compared to this one. Okay, so if you see at every point there is a small additional. Can you tell me why is this price difference? This price difference is mainly because of the licensing of the Windows. So all the software which are running on this Windows operating system, including, are coming with a license. So you don't have to pay for the license of those operating system. and that's why it is little expensive compared to Linux. Here is the prices for reserved instances. That was on-demand instance, this is a reserved instance. High utilization reserved instance. Now there is another thing called data transfer is also cost you money. So let us understand this concept, how it works. So the pricing below is based on data transferred in and out of Amazon EC2. Now all data transfer in, which is very important, all data transfer in is free, is completely free. But all data transfer out costs you money. How? First 1 GB this much, next 10 GB, up to 10 terabyte after that this much, next 40 terabytes will be this much. So that is the way the rate goes on, and it is up to you depending on how much data you are transferring from your system to outside. The data transfer which is happening inside is free of cost. Okay. If you have a very huge requirement of data transfer, you can contact them directly and they can provide you a better price. Now, what are the business use cases or benefits of EC2? There are a lot of business use cases. We will see about one by one. First is that let us assume any company who needs a website with high traffic volume, but he doesn't know that how many servers he will need. So in that case, he cannot go ahead and invest tons of money to buy 100 servers and wait for that traffic to go up. Instead of that, he can just go and buy 1 or 2 servers, and depending on how his needs goes up and the traffic volume spikes up, he can keep adding the server within few minutes, not days, not hours, not month, not year. It is just few minutes. Any company who has a temporary need of large computing resource, let us assume that your company need 200 servers for 2 days. After that, he doesn't need a single one. And the requirement is that they have got a huge chunk of data which they need to process in within a week, and then get the output and send it to someone. And to do that, they need close to 100 servers. Now, how do you do that if there is no cloud computing? In real scenario, you will have to buy all those servers. It will take you 2 to 3 months or 6 months, set it up, run it, and then find somebody else to sell that second-hand server. All of that problem can be avoided if you use cloud computing server. You can just rent it for 1 week and then get the work done. Especially the companies like startups and all, and small companies who have ideas and functionality expertise, and they want to create some software or some value in the society and system, but they do not have money to upfront to buy the server. For them, cloud computing is very easy route. Not sure how long these servers are needed, unpredictable usage. And if you want to find out a lot of companies, what are the other companies which are using AWS and EC2, you can definitely go to the URL called http://AWS Amazon Cloud Computing, and go there and look for various case studies which are there. Okay. So that was all about EC2 for us. Okay. So that was a closure of EC2. Now what we are going to do is that we will really go into the Amazon Management Console and we'll see that how EC2 works.